joins us. Oh, we
Is
are
anybody
live.
there yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. So, were you able to watch Laurie? I'm just going to start talking, and then hopefully, maybe people will join in, and we'll pick them up as we go. Were you able to read
Did
the
the
comment?
link? Yeah, and I'm wondering because I don't see any link in the comments on.
I'm gonna get up right now.
I'm just putting in messages, trying to keep people,
Oh, good. Thank
from
you. I think I said
slipping away.
Yeah, I tried to hop in before it closed out, but I don't know if I was quick enough.
How do you tell? Are people still over on the Facebook Live? Like,
No, because it ended. So the recording just ended. And then,
oh, so then if I'm typing into the chat, it says then they're not necessarily
Oh, no.
seeing it.
Everyone's moving over. Yep, 1 minute ago, finally here. Hi.
oh, Deb, Frank, that's so nice.
Perfect. So we have 6 people on. All right, here, I'm gonna show all the comments
Hello.
so everyone can
Yeah.
see them.
Hi, people. We're just trying to find our
Hello,
way.
hello.
Yes. Oh, everybody's saying they're
Perfect.
here. That's great.
Can you read comments?
Yay.
Yep. So yes, Laurie, Victor, we can read your comments here. So please, if you have questions or comments, just do as you're doing, post them, and we'll read them. I noticed in the when we were streaming your reading, one comment from Abby Penfield was about she loved the connection between love and loss, which I thought was a very simple yet profound comment because I think we tend to divorce those two concepts. But your book really, you can't talk about one without the other. So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
They're like flip sides of a coin,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that really comes home. So Cheryl says the reading was fabulous.
Thank you, Cheryl.
As you read, little Jody kept flinging little hearts out. I don't know how that happened.
Thanks, Jody.
Yeah. Um, Deb says, love the book, Laurie. Read most of it on my flight last week. So,
Aw. Hi,
we
Deb.
still
Thank you.
remind people we have lots of copies here at the shop and they're posted on our webpage. I always encourage people to go to your local bookstore and order things and hopefully encourage them to pick it up for their collections and their selling, but we do have them here. So Laurie Victor says, when you're struggling with a topic and the beginning isn't working, how do you proceed? Do you give yourself more time, or do you try to push through?
So I'm not very good at pushing through. I pretty much will just set it aside. I mean, sometimes I'll just keep writing, thinking, yeah, this is just shit, but at least I'm writing because I think if you keep going, something can unlock from your brain, the subconscious, and then something will come up that you're not expecting. So there is definitely value in pushing through and keep going. But if it's a piece that is already in the works and I get stuck, that doesn't tend to work for me. I'll have to just stop and set it aside and then wait. I do a lot of waiting and thinking, thinking about it, and until I get clear in my head about what is the right direction, or maybe there's like a subtopic that needs to come through, or a metaphor, or just some kind of meaning, if I'm not reaching where I've really made sense of what it is that I'm grappling with. So a lot of time, some of these essays took years, and then others were pretty quick. So it really varies.
Jody asks, I'm struck by how natural Laurie integrates living a life in the wilderness through her grief narratives, and how we're reminded how closely beauty and peril cohabitate. That's lovely.
Yeah, thank you, Jody. That's I love that, how beauty and peril cohabitate. There's a prompt. Let's go with that prompt. I like that one.
Get a lot of mileage out of that one.
Yeah.
I'm curious also how your relationships in your community may have shifted or evolved with this book, with the completion of this book and the stories being out there.
Well, I'm pretty much of a recluse nowadays. Ever since Steve died, I've been really reclusive, and then not too long after, I was still very fresh in my grieving process when COVID hit, and so I don't really interact with a lot of people in the community, although I have my close friends, and I've got my book club, which we read the book last month for book club, and that was really a wonderful experience, sitting with this group of women that I've known for most of them years and years. There are a few that I haven't known as long, and some of them did express that it was very difficult reading the parts of the book, but mostly it was a positive experience. And I have gotten positive feedback from people that they feel like I've created this documentation, of our history. And so far I've gotten positive feedback. I haven't gotten anything negative, which is really encouraging. Yeah, but I can't say that like my relationships have necessarily changed or shifted from the book being out so far.
So I'm mostly here as technical support, but I have also read your book in preparation for this. And I am not a writer at all, but I so appreciate how accessible all of your stories are. And for me, just as a human processing life, to read your stories and to be with you as you process things, your way of processing things has been so comforting to me in this just very authentic, genuine, comfortable way. And it's helped make this process of creative writing feel more accessible. So it's been really great for me reading it and thinking about how writing for so many people can be an outlet of processing and grieving or understanding, and even just understanding themselves. So I've just really enjoyed reading it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for everything you just said. That's like, you just encapsulated what I think every writer, especially of creative nonfiction, wants to hear. So thank you. I really appreciate hearing that.
Absolutely. We have one more.
Why we do it. And what you said too about, that everybody can write and work things out, and it doesn't even mean it has to go anywhere, but if you decide you want to put it out there, then great. More power to you, you know, but it's like it can be for yourself or it can be also for others. And that's one of the joys of writing, I think. And you can have both. You can have your own personal writing and you can have writing that you offer up to the world.
So Deb Wilson Frank writes, we're dealing with a recent suicide, and a line from Laurie's book sticks with me. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. We're sorry to hear
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Deb. And yeah, it is. And unfortunately people, when they're suffering, they're so enmeshed in the pain that they don't think about that fact, that it is, the suffering is temporary, and it, just like anything, it's shifting and changing, and unfortunately so many people fall prey to the pain. That's devastating.
I feel like all our grief is heightened with the pandemic, of course. And I think the fact that you're willing to be so vulnerable and share your grief is such a powerful way to transmute the experience that we're all having too. I think just making a pathway to know what we can do with our isolation and our grief is just huge and so timely.
Yeah, it is really timely, which is kind of weird because it's not like I planned any of that, I mean, the book took, many, many years to write, and it's just kind of interesting that it came out when it did. And of course, I've had a lot of practice grieving since I finished writing this book, even more intensely. And so, yeah, I don't know. I feel like loss and grief for me, for some reason, is like it's a path. It's turned into a life path, which I wasn't, that's not the life path anybody wants, right? But that's what I've been given for some reason, and that's some more writing for me to do to try to figure that one out. I don't know if I ever will.
we should mention Annie and I talked about this when we were promoting this live and talking about it. And the book is very centered on loss and grief. But Annie asked me when I was reading it if I felt like it was like difficult to read or sad. And I completely didn't feel that way. The way that you write
Good.
is not a heavy book. It's not a downer by any means. It is written from a place of, it's a reflection almost. And
Yes.
that lens, I think gives more comfort through the grief than anything. So I think, we're talking about this in the thread of the book in this live, but I think for those watching that maybe haven't read the book, or those that see this that haven't read the book, there's so much in it that is a reprieve from that in just the essence of the way that it's written. And I just wanted to point that out because I think
Great. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. Because I want people to realize that too, for sure. Definitely
Yeah.
for a selling point, right?
Deb just cut right to the chase and says, agree, not a downer at all.
Good. Thank you, Deb.
Yes, and she also commented about, she shares that path of
Right.
both in grieving and mourning and writing, and that she found great solace in writing when her husband died. So, it is a powerful tool. to help us find meaning and find a way forward. So many of us have
Yeah.
courses that do that for us too, but writing is a little cheaper way. I want to know if you're moving your bathtub inside your house.
No, there's no room for it. Oh my gosh. So today, I'm going to be featured in my local paper on Tuesday, and they sent a photographer out today to take pictures of me, which was kind of weird because, I'm like, it's awkward posing and all of that. And so first thing I was like, okay, well, I'll take you over to the bathtub. You can take pictures of me with the bathtub. So that's where we started.
That's
I don't
perfect.
know if they'll use that one or not, but we'll find out.
Of all the ways you thought you'd identify yourself as a writer, I'm not sure you pictured your bathtub being the center of it, huh?
Right. I guess it's just it's something that people can't relate to. It's like this far out thing. So it's a fascination, I think. It's a cold one for me.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting with the early reviews on your book how much people did fascinate on the off the grid living piece, whereas I felt like I wanted to focus on the relationship piece and
Uh-huh.
on community. But it was surprising how many people just wanted to know more about that.
Yeah, I think there's definitely interest in this kind of lifestyle. I think a lot of people that have fantasized about living, what's often called a simple lifestyle, which is always, I think that's an oxymoron because it's really not simple at all. It's like really hard. But so I think, and it's can be romanticized a lot. And I hope that I haven't done that. I can see that maybe there's a tendency to, it's easy to fall into that romanticizing trap. Yeah. And it's not that big in the book, actually. I think it's more about relationships and community and motherhood. And I feel like the living off the grid is kind of back. How do you say it?
Backdrop.
It's like in the backdrop. Yeah.
Yeah, background. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I mean, I feel like a big portion of that is the opening chapter in your book talks about your travels across the country, like headed to live or off the grid while you're pregnant, and this dialogue within yourself of your independence and what that symbolizes to you. So I feel like so much of it's how people are introduced to you and the way that they connect with you initially. And we're all kind of in awe of you. I think after you read that piece, this it's very admirable, the independence that you have and you embody. So I think that's so much why people connect to it, is you do something that we all are in awe of you for. And that's the connection.
Oh, thank you. Although in that piece, I talk about how, I'm like, oh, you have to come save me. I'm like the damsel in distress. Yeah. Which was kind of a shock to me to be like, oh, yeah, I'm really not that independent. I'm like totally dependent on this guy,
Oh, you're so young. I love that there's such an enduring image to me of the dropping of the car off onto the swinging bridge.
Mm,
To me, that's like so symbolic of like having a leap of faith, of being willing to just
right.
ride forward, and you're going to land on that bridge. It's there and it's going to hold you. And like,
Yep.
yeah, that's sort of how you ventured forth throughout the book, was like, I'm just going to follow my heart. I'm just going to keep doing this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really great metaphor. That bridge is gone. It's not there anymore. They tore it down. And want to hear something interesting is before they tore it down, the neighbors to the land where I lived on the other side of the creek, they paid to build this fancy bridge that was, on like pilings, that was not a suspension bridge. And then there was this major winter storm, and it took the creek rose and it took out the bridge, the entire bridge. But the suspension bridge was still there. And I thought, just go with the suspension bridge.
Yeah.
But
Held up better.
then they rebuilt the other bridge. They tore down the suspension bridge, which I think, yeah, you should have left it, because you never know. Another storm might come through. But yeah.
It's better to bend, right? Easier to bend.
Right.
There's some that thing in there, metaphor.
Yep.
Break. So, well, I think we're coming up on our time. So, any closing thoughts you want to share with us?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Yeah. You read beautifully.
I can't see who's here. Thank you all for coming. And we did the recording of the initial reading to make sure we didn't have any technical issues. So that's why we did it with the dual links. So thank you all for attending.
Thanks everybody for jumping over onto this line. It was a big experiment. We were worried about Laurie's off the grid living. So we did a run through and recorded it and decided we would go with that. And then the next day you had a windstorm and lost your internet. So
yeah,
it was kind of a relief that we had done it that way, but we didn't want to miss out on pulling people together and having an opportunity to talk with you. And thank everybody for transitioning over from the reading to this space. And thank you, Laurie, for being willing to experiment with us to figure out how we were going to work all this out. We're always learning in here.
Well, thanks for hosting. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Bye, everybody. It was so great to hear from you.
Bye.